Hello, my name's Caleb Caudle. I'm from Heber City, Utah in the United States. Today is day 1 of my retreat, day 3 of my current dry fast. I'm here because about 14 years ago I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and at that time the doctor's recommendation was that I take some pills and some medicines, T blockers and JAK inhibitors, to turn off my immune system, because the doctor said my immune system was attacking myself and I needed to take these medicines to keep my immune system from functioning at full power. So I asked him what would happen if I took too many of those medicines, and he said, well, eventually it will poison your liver, and when your liver is sick, then we'll need to cut out your colon. And that was my doctor's prognosis. Being young and afraid, I followed the doctor's instructions and I started taking the injections to turn off my immune system, and my quality of life decreased dramatically. My immune system was weak. I was getting sick very regularly. After climbing a regular set of stairs, I'd have to stop and take a breath and huff and puff because my body was just incredibly weak. I've spent my career in a very stressful environment, working with adolescent mental health and dealing with all of their therapeutic issues. And I'm married and have 5 children of my own, and so I have a lot of stresses in my life that I can now look back and attribute to some of my health deficiencies. But I learned very quickly that the medical route was not a productive and healthy route for me, so I sought out alternatives. During the process, I went to see a foot zonologist who worked on my feet and aggravated the nerves on the bottom of my feet to try and help me establish some physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual balance in my life, and that helped tremendously. I focused on my diet, and I learned that anything that had any kind of additives or colors or hormones was incredibly hard on my body, my system, and my life. So we moved onto a little homestead farm, and I raised chickens, not feeding them corn because the corn had too many GMOs, and then I could eat chicken eggs and I could eat chickens, and we ended up getting goats so I could drink goat milk, and I started to avoid all alternative store-bought ingredients, and that helped my symptoms dramatically. Unfortunately, over time, I would have flare-ups. When I was not living within a flare-up, I had a decent quality of life. I felt strong. I could do my job. I could be a dad. But when the flare-ups happened, it would knock me out. The worst of which was in about 2017. I had a flare-up that put me in bed for about 9 months. And during this time, I got these painful swollen fistulas all around my anus that would keep me from being able to walk, and so I laid in bed for 9 months waiting for it to heal. The only thing that felt good was to lie in a bathtub in hot water and resolve some of that pain. And ultimately I went back to a doctor because of fear of death, and they gave me steroids. And those steroids, again, felt like they did more bad for me than good. And so I slowly worked to get control of my symptoms through diet, through movement, through foot zoning, and good energetic processes. 2 years ago, my sister, who had been battling a severe case of Lyme's disease, who had had numerous miscarriages, started talking to me about dry fasting. And she came here to Montenegro, and she had an incredibly physically and spiritually healing experience doing her dry fasting here. She returned home within 2 months. She was pregnant and had a beautiful little baby girl. And as I watched her healing journey, I said that is absolutely something that I'm interested in receiving myself. And so I started preparing January 1st of this year. I went through the 21-day liver cleanse, culminating in a 3-day dry fast. A month later, I did the 5-day dry fast. And a month later, I showed up here, and I am eager to see the results that I anticipate and am hopeful for immediately following the 3-day and 5-day dry fast. After about 3 to 4 days of exit, I started having solid stools for the first time in 14 years. And that was a tremendous gain for me and something I was looking forward to. Recently, we discovered that the root of my Crohn's disease is in toxic buildup that's stuck in my liver. And as that toxic liver buildup, toxic bile liver drains into my colon, it inflames my colon and is the cause of my Crohn's disease. And so we are eager to heal my liver and heal my gallbladder and ease the inflammation of my colon and intestines and receive a complete return to health and wellness where I can be strong to raise my children and have a happy life. So this is day 3 of my dry fast, and I'm looking forward to all the gains we'll be making moving forward. Today is day 2 of the retreat. It's day 4 of my dry fast. I can feel that my vocal cords are starting to dry out a little bit and making me sound funny when I talk, but I'm actually feeling really well. I went on a long hike this morning up a big hill with a beautiful overlook, and it felt invigorating. I think that was probably the most surprising thing for me when I learned about dry fasting. Is I thought, oh, surely if you're going without food and water for 9 days, you're probably just laying in bed miserable all day long waiting for the time to pass. And then I learned that it's critical to be moving every day. They encourage 10 kilometers of movement every day. And I just thought that was going to be impossible. When I first heard that, I thought that was crazy. And when I began and I did my first 3-day dry fast, it was the most healing, powerful experience to just get up and be moving every day. I could feel my heart working. I could feel the blood circulating. I could feel my lymphatic system open up and start flushing things out. And I just started to crave movement. In our lecture today, or actually the lecture yesterday, they talked a little bit about stagnation, how things die and they get weak and it's unhealthy when they're stagnant. And so learning how to create that movement every day during the fast is a very, very powerful experience. I'm excited to be here on day 4. Day 4 is always my favorite day of the fast. For whatever reason, in the United States, they teach you from a very young age that you cannot live more than 3 days without drinking water. After 3 days, you're going to die without water. And so my kids, I've got a 14-year-old son specifically who thinks, hey, Dad, today's the day you prove everybody wrong. Today's the day that you prove that everybody's a liar because you can live after 3 days without water. So that's day 4. I've been really, really lucky to have good support from my family. My wife, she did the 21-day liver cleanse with me. She did the 3-day dry fast alongside with me, and she did the 5-day dry fast along with me. And now she's at home taking care of the kids while I do this long dry fast. She would love to do the dry fast. She doesn't have any serious illnesses that she's trying to overcome, but the mental clarity and the physical health and the strength and the cleansing experience that she feels in supporting me through this has been incredibly powerful for me, a wonderful support and incredibly helpful. I work in a business where I'm there daily managing the marketing and business development aspects. And I was very concerned about telling my partners that I was going to need to take some time off. And when I told them what my plan was, they thought I was crazy. My partners thought that I was going to do this dry fast and I was going to die and that this business was going to break and fall apart. And I got them to study dry fasting a little bit. And as I explained the process that your body goes through as it begins to shed the old and dead and weak cells and replace them with stem cells and rejuvenate, they suddenly got very, very interested in this process, and they came to the conclusion that not dry fasting for me, because of my Crohn's disease, because of my liver disease, because of the unhealthy things that were taking place, not dry fasting was going to be significantly more dangerous for me in the long term than actually fasting. And so I come here to Montenegro with their blessing, and they're helping me to cover all of my responsibilities at work while I am here seeking out my own personal physical health. It's pretty funny. I've got several friends who believe that this is just going to be the most miserable experience and I'll be lucky to come home alive. And it's good to record this and demonstrate that here I am, day 4, feeling strong, feeling excited, having gone on a long walk today, looking forward to my treatment this evening, and just feeling strong. I can't explain it, but the deeper I go into my dry fast, maybe it's because my weight to strength ratio changes, because my muscle doesn't go, but all the visceral fats and liquids go, and suddenly I just feel so strong when I'm going through this. So I'm grateful for that process. I'm looking forward to continue, and I am eternally grateful for the support and help of family and friends that know what I'm doing, and they're at home thinking about me, praying for me, and sending me all their good energy. So thank you so much. Day 3 of the retreat. It's day 5 of my dry fast, and it's going really well. Last night I did not sleep at all, and that's made me a little bit more lethargic today, but that tends to be my pattern. I'll sleep really well one night and then I won't be able to sleep the next night. And then because I've been up for so long, I sleep really well the next night. So crossing my fingers for some good sleep tonight. I think that'll be very helpful. Today I wanted to get into a little bit more of the psychological journey that I've been through during this dry fasting process. It's interesting. One of the things that I've learned is that all disease is centered in stress. And stress is a result of having an imbalanced emotional and physical and spiritual connection within our lives. And so as you're going through this dry fasting process, obviously, if you're going to do something this extreme, it's probably because there's some physical health benefits that you need, but you can't discount how powerful the emotional and spiritual benefits are while you're fasting. I'll give an example from this past couple weeks. I was going on a walk in preparation for this 9-day dry fast with my wife. And I noticed that whenever I get into a thoughtful mode, my posture becomes very poor. I hunch over and I lean with my head. And as I was walking, it hit me that my entire life I've been very, very cerebral. Everything I do is focused on my head and my thoughts and my brain, and I'm very strategic in the way that I think, and that's been a positive experience in many ways. It's helped me build a business, it's helped me raise a family, it's helped me have good relationships, but intellectually I'm imbalanced with my ability to feel the other emotions and the creative powers within me. And so when I was walking, I thought, okay, I need to improve my posture, and I kept putting my shoulders back, but then I would just walk like a robot, and it felt very unnatural. My posture wasn't improving. And suddenly I had this inspiration, this thought that it's not about holding my shoulders back, it's about engaging my core, and it's about engaging the root chakra and the sacral chakra. And as I looked into that, I learned that the root chakra and the sacral chakra are very much the creative sources of our souls. And that is something that's been incredibly imbalanced. I've been so strategic and intellectual that I've been leading with my head, and I needed to engage my core and lead with my root chakra. And so as I started doing my walks, and while I've been here in Montenegro, I've been really focused on leading with my root chakra, and my posture has improved, and my openness to life has improved, and I've gotten out of my head, and that's been a huge blessing for me. As I talked about this with my wife, she sent me with a little bit of a gift. It was this piece of Picasso jasper here that she sent me with. And as I was learning about Picasso jasper, it says, Picasso jasper is associated with transformation and inner clarity. It's believed to help guide you through life changes with greater understanding and purpose. It's linked to creative awakenings. Despite its creative energy, Picasso jasper is very grounding. It helps calm the mind, reduce overwhelm, and keep you centered in the present moment. It attracts like-minded people, and it symbolizes that you are entering a time of growth and transformation. And I think nothing could better articulate the process that I've been going through as I've been learning to be introspective. The fast, without a doubt, is going to help heal your physical infirmities, but the introspection that encourages is very, very powerful as well. As I mentioned before, I'm a recreational therapist. I work with young adolescents, and there's this activity we used to do where we'd put kids up on a beam 30 feet in the air, totally harnessed in, completely safe, but they'd have to walk across this beam, and there were 2 ropes. And the first one they could grab very easily, and they'd start walking across the beam. But for them to grab the next rope, they'd have to reach out, and they'd have to let go of this rope before they could grab the next rope. And that's just been a symbolic process for me as I've been learning to get out of my head. Intellectually, I've been so focused on holding on to that rope that for me to let that go and embrace the creativity and introspectiveness of that next rope has been very powerful. So I created this little piece of rope here that's tied to my piece of jasper, and it's to remind me that I need to let go of that intellectual rope and secure that creative piece of rope and be introspective. And as I do that, it engages my core, it improves my posture, it teaches me to be open and receive all the good that's within me. And while that might not be something that you can directly connect with physical health, it's been something that has allowed me to embrace more light, more knowledge, more peace, and to de-stress. And I believe that ultimately letting go of that stress and being more introspective will help me on my healing journey and bless me in all of my relationships. So I'm grateful for that process. I'm grateful for what I'm learning, and I'm looking forward to the other insights that I'll gain while I'm here. Today is day 4 of the retreat. It's day 6 of my dry fast. My saliva and liquids in my mouth are starting to dry out, so I've been more careful. Today I want to talk about some of the misperceptions of dry fasting and some of the things I've learned as we've really began to understand and integrate some of these things into our lives. The first one's really simple. I told friends and family that I was going to Montenegro for a health retreat, and of course they thought that I'd have warm stones placed on my back and receive these generous, kind massages. And I want to be really clear. You come here and the goal is to take all of the stagnant organs and muscles that have not been moving, that are starting to get old and burdened, and it's to open them up and free them and release them and create movement and blood flow. And it is not a gentle process. My first stomach massage, I felt like they were grabbing organs and pushing on them and saying, "Oh, are you feeling nauseous? Oh yeah, I want to throw up. Okay, good, it's working." And it was this process of having it hurt so good. I could tell that it was doing positive things. Yesterday, they gave me a back massage, and I was terrified they were going to find a knot in my muscle, because once they find those knots, they make sure they work them out, and it feels like a train is driving over you. But when you're done, you feel like, oh, that was positive. I've got welts on my back from cupping that was done following the massage, and then they said, hey, do you mind if we put some bees on your kidneys? And I said, is it going to help? Yeah, you need it. Okay. So by the end of the day, I felt like I just went through battle, and I left, and I thought, I'm so glad someone cares enough to go to those lengths and go that deep. And it's not about pleasing me and making me feel good. It's about creating healing at its core. And so this misperception that you come here on a resort and get pampered is not true. If you're going to do this, you got to be ready to do the work. You got to be open to realizing that growth comes through serious discomfort. And a 9-day fast is already uncomfortable. Add on to that some procedures that really get things moving. They need to be moved because they were stuck. If they weren't stuck, you wouldn't need it. So you just got to find that inner strength and allow. And that's what fasting is for me in a lot of ways. It's learning to allow rather than fighting and holding control. It's relaxing, breathing, and learning to allow. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I'm learning, and I'm wanting to make sure I prepare my kids and my wife and my family for when I return home, is in a lot of ways people look at this long-term fast in Montenegro as the end. Yeah, I've been preparing since January 1st, and now it's here, and it's like, yay, I finished this 9-day dry fast, and that's the end, right? I'm going to go home and I'm going to be cured. And I've learned that this long-term fast is actually the beginning. And it's important for people to manage their expectations, realizing that this is only the beginning. As I understand it, at the end of that dry fast, that long dry fast, you're going to have 3 times the amount of stem cells in your body. But those stem cells need to assimilate. They need to go to the different places where they are going to be most beneficial. And then they need to learn what to do. And then they need to grow, and they need to get strong. And in the process of doing that, they call that the exit. The exit, you're going to have symptoms that spike. You're going to have things that surface. At the end of my 3-day and at the end of my 5-day dry fast, I had rashes and bumps and boils and different things surface, and I scratched my head and I thought, well, why is this happening? I thought I did this fast to get healthy, and now I feel worse than before the fast. And it has just been such a beautiful learning process for me to realize that everything that surfaces, the rashes and the fungus and the things, those are things that were deep inside of me that needed to come out. And they were stuck inside of me, and they needed to come out. And so you feel really strong, and your immune system is strong during this fasting process. And then when you stop fasting, you start eating again, your organs wake up, everything starts moving, and it starts pushing things out. And it can kind of be creepy what comes out. At least it was for me. I looked at some of those things and I thought, that was inside of me? That's frankly disgusting. But to know that it was coming out was encouraging. And so 30, 60, 90 days after you finish your fast, you're going to have these symptoms of things leaving. And it's disgustingly beautiful to see that get out of you, because you know what's left is clean and whole and powerful. The last thing that I wanted to talk about, that this is my belief system and what I'm learning, and it's relative to me. If it's helpful, great. But when I was first diagnosed with Crohn's disease, they said, Crohn's disease is an autoimmune disorder. There is no cure. It will never go away. For some reason, your body has identified your colon as a foreign substance, and your immune system is now attacking your own body. And we don't know why it does that, but that's what happens, and you're just going to have to live with that for the rest of your life. We'll give you medications for you to tolerate it. Eventually, we'll probably have to cut your colon out. That's what Western medicine, that's how they described autoimmune disorders. It seems like the more people I talk to, the more everyone has an autoimmune disorder. And if you believe that your body is attacking yourself, that's unnatural. Your body doesn't attack itself. For me personally, I believe that after years and years of having stagnant issues that actually started in my liver flushing toxic bile directly into my colon absorbing that toxic bile and those other things. My immune system's not fighting my own body. It's attacking the toxins that have been absorbed and are stuck in those tissues. And I don't blame my immune system, and I don't hate my immune system. And there have been times when I've hated myself and I've hated my body and been frustrated, and it just makes everything worse. To find joy and gratitude and pleasure in the fact that my immune system works, and there's something in the tissue that needs to come out, that needs to be cleansed, that needs to move. The only way I've been able to figure out how to cleanse those deep layers of tissue inside of my colon, inside of my liver, inside of all of my different organs, is to do this fasting. And this fasting, it dries everything up. And those toxins, that bacteria, the viruses, the cancer cells, whatever it is, they can't survive in that dry area. Dr. Filonov talks about the process of going through ketosis and then autophagy and then apoptosis, and then your body goes into this intense system of acidosis. I can feel the acidosis warming up inside of me. I've had this acid reflux for the last day. How do you have acid reflux if you haven't eaten in 6 days? It's because your blood is acidic, because it's cleansing out all of that stuff. It's pulling the toxins out of the deepest layers of your tissues, those toxins that are self-destructing. And then the acid is cleansing it out and flushing it out. I know when I start eating again, I'm going to have rashes and funguses and other things surfacing and escaping through my pores and through my skin, and making sure people give me a little bit of grace. I'm not going to come home from this 9-day fast and feel like Hercules and be ready to go. I'm actually going to need to work even harder at allowing that cleansing process to finalize and to exit. And then those stem cells are going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And it's going to be a beautiful experience. But the 9-day fast is the beginning. It's not the end. And if you understand that, you'll be better prepared for this long journey that is taking care of ourselves and loving our bodies and giving ourselves the grace and the time that it needs to heal. It's day 5 of the retreat, day 7 of my dry fast. And I need to be really honest. I'm feeling a surge of hope and a surge of energy despite how hard everything is. I look back on some of the complications and health problems that I've had over the years, and the hope of overcoming those fills me with energy. It fills me with life. It fills me with tremendous hope. And so I feel like I'm in a really good place mentally and emotionally today, even though physically my mouth is dry and I'm drained. And I gotta say that going on my walk, you'd think going on a 10-kilometer walk every day would drain you and exhaust you and wear you out, but it is my life source. It is my energy source. I walked yesterday over 10 kilometers and I thought I was tired, but then when I did it, it just reminded me that I've got a lot of power inside that I haven't tapped into yet, and so that feels wonderful. If you ever fast, please recognize the power and energy that comes from movement. Movement is power. I really wanted to talk today, and I'll get a little bit personal on some of the experiences I've had since the beginning of my dry fast. It's April 1st today. I began a vegan and gluten-free diet January 1st. I did the 21-day liver cleanse. That culminated in a 3-day dry fast. And the exit, again, I'm dealing with Crohn's disease symptoms that turns out is more a problem with my liver than it is my intestines. And upon the exit of my 3-day fast, I had all kinds of rashes that surfaced on my body. They were itchy. And then, yeah, I'm going to overshare, but I would get what I only know how to refer to as boils all around the inside of my buttocks. And they weren't zits, they were big, thick, deep boils that I think I could pop. And I couldn't pop them, they were so thick and heavy. And so I would just wait, and I would wait, and after about 5 days, I had about 5 of these boils all at once. They were incredibly painful to sit down, but they surfaced. And what came out was awful and disgusting. It was toxic, it smelled bad, and it was followed by a rush of thick blood and fluid that passed for about an hour, and then it clotted. It disappeared, it went away, and it didn't leave a scar, it didn't leave pain, it didn't leave anything behind. I don't know why my body chose that particular way to cleanse, but I believe that the skin is a cleansing organ. And when you start going through these fasting experiences and you're pulling toxins from the deep inner parts of you, the toxin's going to find a way out. I wish it would just sweat its way out, or I wish it would just find a different way out, but sometimes it just punches through the barrier of the skin. But that to me is evidence that fasting works. That to me is evidence that there's toxins in my body that need to get out. I went on to do a 5-day dry fast, and I had the same boils. This time I knew what they were, so they didn't scare me, and I embraced them. And then I just had the most wild experience. Day 2 of my exit, I was getting, my core temperature was decreasing and I was feeling cold. And I said, well, I'm just going to take the hottest bath I can take. And I laid down in this hot bathtub, and it just felt like my skin was melting. And while I was laying there, I'd started to get these itches on my face. And so I started scratching my face, and I noticed that under my fingernails, I was getting this weird wax under my fingernails. So I scratched at it and piled it up, and it made a little ball of this gross wax, and I set it on the side of the tub, and I scraped again, and this time there was even more. And I did that for about 45 minutes all around my jaw, my neck, and my cheeks and my nose. And every time this wax came melting out of my skin. And at first it was really weird and scary. I didn't know what it was. And by the time I was done, I had about a 1/2-inch ball of substance that had melted out of my pores. And I just thought that was the freakiest thing in the world. And as I started kind of working with it and squishing with it and trying to figure out and identify what it was, I discovered that it was microplastics that had bonded inside of my skin. And I think the fast, along with the hot water, started to melt these microplastics out of my skin. And once I got them out, my wrinkles were going away, and my skin was buoyant, and it was alive, and people were looking at me that knew me, and they said, oh my gosh, you look 10 years younger. What have you been doing? I've been pulling microplastics out of my face. And that wasn't ever the reason I did this fast. And I guess that's my point, is you have to trust your body, because your body knows what you're ready to let go. Your body knows what toxins need to be let go first. And my experience has been, it's just layers and layers and layers. And here I am on day 7 of my dry fast, and this is uncharted territory. I don't know what layers we're going to discover next. When we get to days 8, 9, and perhaps 10, I don't know what layers my body is going to decide. We're finally ready to let this go. And I'm just so prayerful and grateful and hopeful that it will let go of all of those layers that have been inhibiting me living my healthiest, happiest life. And if I can get there, and if I can do that, this is worth it. This is worth it 1,000 times over. And it's motivating and it's inspiring to go home and live a new life where I'm no longer intentionally putting that garbage into my body, where I can be selective and careful and inspired about what I consume. So I'm grateful for this experience and can't wait to see what weird, strange, disgusting exit symptoms that I have at the end of this long-term fast. It's day 6 of the retreat, and it's day 8 for my dry fast. And I tell you, you never know from day to day what's going to happen. I've had 3 large bowel movements today, this morning, and it's just black, toxic sludge. I don't know where it's coming from, but I'm here to get that out, and so that's got to be a good thing. But it just surprises me every time. I don't understand where it's been hiding and where it's pulling from. But we're on day 8 and we're still getting good cleansing. So I'm happy for that. I wanted to talk a little bit about this emotional journey that I've had coming here. And it's an interesting backstory. When I was about 4 years old, my dad said, if you cry, you lose your power. And the way I interpreted that is I never want to be unpowerful, so never cry. So for the next 40 years, I never cried. And I was getting a treatment, and somebody was working on my kidneys, and they said, you've got tremendous sadness stored in your kidneys. Can I release it? And I thought they were the craziest person ever. And I said, yeah, go ahead, release it, I don't mind. And they gave me permission to be sad, and they released this sad energy that I was apparently storing in my kidneys, and I left thinking that that was a crazy witch doctor. And the following day I went out of town for work, and between meetings I would go to my hotel room and curl up into a little ball and sob and sob and sob and sob, and I'd call my wife and I'd say, I don't know what happened to me, that lady bewitched me, but I'm letting go of all of this emotion, and I don't know where it's coming from. And it started to connect some dots for me. Some of the dots have been these, that the source of my Crohn's disease is a sick liver. But what's the source of my sick liver? And so as I was doing this preparation to come here to Montenegro and do this fast, I studied the liver and what emotions it holds. And the liver holds emotions of anger and hatred and frustration and resentment. And I started thinking about my life's journey because of religious beliefs that teach you to be kind, that teach you to love. Anytime I ever felt anger towards someone, I would swallow it and hold it in, and I wouldn't get angry. I've never yelled at my kids. I have 5 kids. I don't yell at my kids or my wife. I just swallow it and I try to be kind because that's what I was told is good. But I believe that toxic energy that I just swallowed over and over again has stored in my liver, and my liver is full of hate. And I went on a walk yesterday up a pine tree path, and I got to the top of the pine tree path, and I was all alone, and it was raining, but the pine trees were keeping me dry, and I went to the edge, and I looked over the edge of this ocean, and I screamed as loud and hard as I could for 5 minutes. I sounded like a 95-year-old chain smoker because my voice isn't here, but I was summoning up all the energy in my liver and all the hatred in my liver and getting it out and getting it out. And it felt so good. It felt so cathartic. During my preparation for this fast, there was some, in the 21-day liver cleanse, there's some amazing writing exercises that you can write down all the things that you're afraid to feel in public because they're not pretty. I don't want to be seen as this angry, hateful, mean person, but I have to admit that that is inside of me sometimes. So as I would write it down and then burn these pieces of paper into nowhere, I was able to get emotions out that I believe have been trapped inside of me for decades. And I believe that getting those emotions out have opened me up to a greater sense of physical healing, because the spiritual and the physical and the emotional and the mental, they can't be separated. It's all together. And so it's not surprising to me that I let out decades worth of anger stored inside of me, screaming from the tops of this mountain, and it felt so good. And then I woke up this morning and flushed out a black, toxic sludge that's terrifying that's inside of me, and I hope I get it all out. I look forward to this, and I'm grateful for the experiences that I'm having. It's day 7 of the retreat, and it is my day 9 of the dry fast. There was some consideration of going longer, but I need to get strong and well in order to go back home to the United States, and so I will exit tomorrow morning. And I am excited about that opportunity, and I'm excited about the experience that I've had here. It's been spiritual, it's been physical, it's been emotional, it's been all the things that you would want a retreat to be. Just thinking through this process a little bit. Last December I met with a hepatologist. I've had Crohn's disease for 14 years, but he had concerns after a blood draw about the numbers in my liver blood draw. And they got very concerned and very worried. And the hepatologist said, look, you've got a liver disease that's probably contributing to your colon. And the way your liver looks now, we're probably going to have to cut it out in 5 years. And those livers are only good for 5 to 10 years. So you're probably going to need 2 or 3 liver transplants over the course of your life. That's our plan. And again, that's why I'm here. I don't believe in that messaging. I believe that God gave us bodies that can heal themselves, that we can tap into our inner strength and we can find healing. I was thinking about my lifestyle and thinking about past regrets and different things like that. I love to travel. I love cultures. I love food. I've been all over the world and I've eaten their food and I've enjoyed their food. And once upon a time, if you'd have asked me, what's the most exciting part of life? I'd have said going to another culture and being a part of that culture and eating their food and embracing that culture. And while that's still powerful and exciting and wonderful, I can think of nothing more exciting than having a healthy liver. That will direct my decisions and my plans forevermore. I know that my liver can heal and be cleansed, and there will be moments where I will be able to go and participate in that exciting part of life, but not at the cost of my liver. My liver is my goal and my dream. It will dictate what I put into my body. It will dictate the stress that I allow myself to consume. It will dictate how I use my body and how I express myself and how I recognize emotion and happiness and joy and sadness and anger and all of those things in my life. I feel like through this fast, my liver's become my best friend and I listen to it. And I want that to be how my life continues. And I've been very, very grateful for the guidance that I've received here in Montenegro. It's been a blessing. It saved my life, and I couldn't be more grateful. It's day 8 of the retreat and day 1 of my exit. Wow, what a journey this is. I will say that on day 8, I was feeling good. I went on a really long hike, but day 9, the tides turned. And as much optimism and hope that I had that I just kind of cruised through to the end, disappeared day 9. It took all of my energy out, and I could tell my body was cleansing the deepest, darkest corners of my soul. Last night was the worst night's sleep I've had. In fact, I don't think I went to sleep for even a minute. I just was watching the clock like sand through an hourglass. It was so slow, waiting for 5 o'clock to come where I could exit. But my testimonial today is that it comes, and it eventually will be there. And it's important in this process to understand your why. I've got 5 kids at home and a beautiful wife. That's a big part of my why. I don't want to just be alive. I want to live with them and be with them and be active and, you know, be the kind of dad that can enjoy them for many, many years to come. So when you get to that point of crisis, when you're exhausted, when you feel like, wow, I can't do this anymore, man, it's important to have that why locked down inside of you, and that'll get you through whatever you need. And it's been a wonderful process for me. Today I had my first treatment on exit, and a lot of people, I suppose, for what their issues are, the therapist was saying a lot of people deal with constipation, and because of my digestive issues and Crohn's disease and bile disorders in my liver, I was actually flowing. I've had to use the restroom at least 5 times today, and it's flowing and flowing, and so I'm taking sorbents to help continue gathering those toxins and getting them out. One of the things that I really appreciate about Dr. Filonov and all of his staff is they're very wise to individual cases. This isn't a retreat where they bring everybody here and put them through the same program and say, I hope it works for you, good luck. It's very detailed and very personalized. After my massage, then I got the honey massage. And at first I thought, oh, this isn't too bad. I've been hearing about this painful honey massage. And they were slowly kind of slapping and peeling the honey off. And by the end, they were playing the drums on my stomach and ripping it off. And I just thought, holy cow, this is wild. But I could feel it opening up movement and air and connection with me. And I think that was really interesting for me to experience. One of the things I've noticed is a problem with most medicine, and I've been through it all, is that particularly Western medicine, if I get in a car crash and I have a head injury or a broken bone, I love Western medicine because they are really good at taking care of acute problems. The problem with my experience has been those same acute solutions that they're offering for chronic problems. You can't apply an acute solution to a chronic problem. It doesn't work. In fact, it just makes it worse. My Crohn's disease is a 14-year journey, and if I just took the steroids and the antibiotics and all of the pills that they recommended, those are acute solutions for a chronic problem that was just going to destroy my liver. And now I feel like I have a tool. Fasting for me is a chronic solution for my chronic problem. And I don't know that my symptoms will disappear completely when this is done, but I have a tool that if they start to elevate, if I start to feel sick, if I start to feel like I need to cleanse myself, I know what to do. I've been given the tools, I've been given the knowledge, I've been given the chronic solution for a chronic problem. And that is so encouraging and empowers me to believe that I can live a long, long life. It's day 9 of the retreat here in Montenegro, and it's day 2 of my exit. And man, it's wonderful to get through that first day of exiting. A lot of perspective. I couldn't believe how tired I was yesterday. I woke up to exit and then went back to bed and had to set all my alarms because I didn't want to miss out on certain experiences, but I'd go back and sleep. I probably slept more yesterday during the day than I had in the previous 3 nights. So it was wonderful to get some of that rest. And I think that's a really important thing that I want to talk about today, is really just managing the expectations that we have and that others have for us while we're here on this fast. You know, I've got kids at home that think, oh yeah, Dad's going to go do this crazy fast, he's going to come back, he's going to be perfectly healthy, and life's going to be good, and none of these problems are ever going to return. And I think helping them manage that expectation takes a lot of stress out for me, recognizing that our health journeys, our progress with health is not a linear journey. It's not just an upward climb that keeps going. If anything, it's probably like a really healthy investment portfolio where there's spikes and lows, but it just keeps climbing. And the goal is to find the right trend. And that's what I've been noticing a lot as I've been here in Montenegro going through this fast. You'll have days that feel really good and you think, wow, this is amazing. I'm feeling great. And then suddenly you'll just kind of collapse. And I believe that's because our bodies are absolutely brilliant. You can imagine if our bodies were to dump all of the toxins all at once, it would probably just knock us out and kill us. I've learned that my body's really smart on when it's ready to detox. It'll build up some strength and then it'll detox and it'll just flatten me out, and then I'll get stronger again and then it will dump and I'll be better. So today is day 2 of my exit. It's a beautiful sunny day. I went on a walk on the beach today and I'm feeling really strong. I'm feeling really capable, but I'm not foolish enough to believe that I'm just going to keep getting stronger, because I know from the treatments that I've received, from the conversations that I've had, that there is some detoxifying that is still left to do. In fact, as we were going through our lecture day today, they talked about fungus spots on your forehead and on your feet are signs of a liver that's struggling. They talked about stiff jaws being a sign that your liver is needing more cleansing. Obviously, my bowels are a clear sign that there is still bile and cleansing to take place. And so managing that expectation that I'm going to feel really good today and I'm going to live in that space and I'm going to embrace it, because tomorrow's a whole new day. And it might not be, like I said, this perfect trajectory of health, but the trend is going in the right direction. I'm very excited about what I've learned and what I've done. I'm frustrated that there's so many signs going back 15 years for me that my liver was under stress. And I waited 15 years to finally take an aggressive stance and deal with it. You know, I always believed that, oh, I can't do this. I'm too busy. I've got work. I've got kids. I've got all these things that I manage. I can't take the time off to take care of myself. But eventually you avoid taking care of yourself long enough and you can no longer take care of yourself. And so it's been great to get through that process. I look forward to everything, the highs and the lows, because I do know that those lows are just going to bring deeper cleansing, deeper detoxification, and ultimately greater health. Today is day 10 of the retreat, and I am here on my 3rd day of exit and feeling really, really well. I wanted to kind of just talk through a little bit of the process. As I mentioned once before, it was last December, after 14 years of Crohn's disease. Last December I had a regular test, colonoscopy, blood draw, and in that blood draw they noticed that my alk phos levels in my liver were incredibly high, like over 900 when they're supposed to be at 150. And that got me an immediate appointment with a hepatologist that specializes in the liver. And I mentioned, he talked about what the options were, and he wanted to kind of let me know what the natural path of treatment for someone in my situation was. And he said, most likely you're going to need a liver transplant in 5 years. And those only last 5 to 10 years, so you might need 2 or 3 of those throughout your life. And that's what really kind of ignited a spark to get me on this journey. The great thing that I do appreciate about this doctor is that he was originally a psychiatrist who understood the connection between the brain and the gut. And he had studied that as a psychiatrist. And because he noticed there were so many connections between the brain and the gut, he then decided that he would pivot his career and focus on liver diseases, which contribute heavy to gut issues. And so as I talked to him in preparation for this fast about what I was going to do, he was intrigued. A lot of times I feel like doctors have their one way to do it and they just want you to do it and don't ask any questions. But he was very intrigued and asked a lot of questions, and I let him know kind of what my plans were. And in preparation for this long-term fast, he said, well, let's do all the tests. Let's do some scans, some MRIs. Let's do your blood work. Let's get all the testing we can do ahead of time. Let's let you go through this fasting experience, and then let's compare and have a pre and post comparison between what your biological markers are to see how your health has progressed or not. And so we've learned we're not going to do any testing for 90 days after I finish the long-term fast, because that's the recovery period. I'm going to go ahead and wait for those 90 days, but I'm really excited to report back to my hepatologist, to do the blood work, to do the scans, to do the colonoscopy, to do all of that. And my hope would be, with the increased cells, with the increased health, with the increased blood circulation, and the focus on liver health, that all of the systems are going to be much healthier and trending in a positive direction. So I'm looking forward to that, and hopefully I'll get a chance to share those results with you at some point in the future. As I wrap up my fasting time here in Montenegro, I just had a few thoughts that I wanted to share for anyone considering this. I had a pretty aggressive illness and disease that was attacking my body, and I came here to kill. I came here to kill the bacteria, to kill the poisons, to kill the toxins, to kill the disease, to kill the inflammation. And fasting is death. Fasting is death to all of those cells, and I believe only the strongest survive. But the cool part is the strongest then reproduce, and then they're supported again with new stem cells, and I'm really excited about that. If fasting is death, then exiting is like a rebirth, and that's just something that I think is important to recognize and understand. As I started exiting the fast and started this recovery process, I felt like a small child. I felt like I was watching one of my kids born again. I had to learn how to taste again. I had to get on an appropriate sleep schedule. I had to learn how to see clearly, and smells were so powerful. Everything felt so new and so beautiful. I started carefully on my first day of exit, taking my first steps with this clean body that had been cleansed, and they were wobbly and shaky. And now day 3, I'm feeling stronger and more powerful. And that analogy of just being able to really look at this as a process of rebirth is exciting, because it gives you a way to not be stuck. The goal is to always progress. The goal is to always move forward. And I think there's a lot of value in looking at that opportunity to kill everything that's bad, be reborn again into something new, and then take care of it better.